afternoon. Welcome to Estonian Academy of Arts. Dear friends of design, my name is Kristjan Mändmaa and I'm the Dean of Design here. And I'm very happy to announce the third annual EKA Design Showcase. So indeed, for the third time, we organize such an event whose goal is to celebrate the cooperation between academy and the industry. And that's something that seems everyone in the society expects from us. The ministry very much wants that the academy cooperates with industry, and certain people that are worried that the taxpayer money goes to waste also are always looking out that there's some kind of reality check or cooperation aspect in the education. And we've always tried to do it. I think Academy of Arts has been quite exemplary in this sense. We always have had industry cooperation. But during these 3 years, I think it can be clearly demonstrated how the quality of the cooperation has improved immensely. First of all, I would say our students have become sort of smarter, kind of more aware of what's happening. Also genuinely interested in serving the society, helping to make the world a better place and maybe someone a richer person. And at the same time, the companies themselves have become smarter. First of all, more than before, they actually know what they want, or, which is even better, they are very open to different experimentation and suggestions, which really opens up a possibility of interesting outcomes. The model really is unbeatable. You have a group of students, say 15 to 20 bright minds from all over the world, because many of the programs and student groups that demonstrate today their presentations are multinational. So it's a group of global bright minds who are given the task and they come up with solutions that no one could have done. So I would say it is a quality event, and let's see whether we'll do it again, but I very much hope so. So the order of the day, as you can see also on the time schedule here, is that before the coffee break we have 8 presentations, and after the break we also have 8 presentations, and these are quite varied. It goes from space technology to furniture, from healthcare to music management. So it should be quite an exciting array of projects there. And also I'd like to read out the list of our industry partners without whom it couldn't be possible today. Then it's Spotify, Bolt, Swiss Space Center, the North Estonian Medical Center, Port of Tallinn, TalTech, Harmet, Igluna Clothing, Trilum, Porkuni, and Viimsi Parish Government. So I think let's give them a big hand. And also cannot escape mentioning the financial support by EU Fund of Regional Development. Let's give them a big hand. And also, whoever has not registered yet, there are these sheets of paper in the hallway. Please step by during the coffee break and sign your name there. It's very important. EKA Design Showcase is also a great event because once a year we have this opportunity to meet almost all of the students of the joint master's program, Design and Technology Futures, because they very rarely happen to visit this building. I hope it will happen more in the future, but basically once a year or maybe twice a year for the graduation and for the showcase, the students are here. So you have a chance to see those students with their own eyes. And to continue, I pass the microphone on now to the leader of this master's program from TalTech, Pärn.
It is a pleasure to be back, and twice a year we do that. It is exciting times, I think, for design education and for the design profession. This a couple of days ago, I went through a design dictionary, a thick volume, and I looked up or noticed that actually terms like UX or design lead were not included in this dictionary. When I looked, okay, what is the date of that book? That was 2008. So actually, some of the professions where our graduates work did not exist so much that they would be included in a design dictionary some 10, 12 years ago. If you think that climate change, we all know about that. And it has been now a discussion in academia, a discussion about boys, men and women. But since last year, it has become really available and pushing actually companies to change. And this is a big change, and this is a change giving them a new possibility and a new role for designers to be part of it. Because from one side, we're working and these projects with our partners are actually part of this change. So, I hope it will be a great afternoon. But before we go to the students, I think we have a little more wiser, small input. Kristjan is a moderator.
Thank you. Indeed, we have a keynote today, and it's delivered by the co-founder of E-Governance Academy Foundation and the program director of Smart Governance, Estonia's very own Mr. Innovation, Linnar Viik. And the title of this talk is Innovation, a Verb, not a Noun.
Well, hello, good afternoon, and well, it's a really difficult situation for me to stay here because only thing between you and the substantive presentations is me, who is my keynote. And when I'm calculating roughly the presence in this room, the length of my presentation multiplied with your number of your brains here is actually worth of at least one full human working day. And manpower and brain power and working days is only limited resource we have. So I would rather rush not to waste the collective time of all ours, which could be dedicated to much more productive things like innovation or just sleeping or preparing yourself for the next technological breakthrough. Innovation is often considered something which is a status or one-time off thing. And that small joke could describe often what is happening in many societies. We tried, it didn't work out, and let's continue as we used to. And majority of the problems we are facing right now as a mankind are based on the fact that we are still able to continue for some reason as we used to, and not thinking about the opportunities where we need to rethink the way how we behave, how we are using our knowledge, or how we are transforming our knowledge into a practice. So for me, it's very clear that innovation is not a status, it's not a noun, but it's a verb, it's about action, it's about doing, it's about delivering and making really an impact, making change happen. And innovation is based often and always in knowledge which we have at the present. There have been also cases where we only later on learn the theoretical formulas and mechanics and other laws of nature behind certain valuable product, such as a wheel which was invented way before we were able to learn anything about the mechanics and about the theories behind the usability of that, but it was useful. And usefulness combined together with a need for action is something which is also describing a word innovation. When we're looking today to the products, services and ideas which will be presented, number of them are moving beyond of our present knowledge and are stretching it into an unforeseeable future where, like Leonardo da Vinci invented flying objects and tried to imitate the way how birds are flying, which have been influenced to a certain degree also a Wright brother and many other inventors later on who came to us with the airspace and aviation industry. It has been often ahead of the time. One more thing which is very important, we always work within the limited time space, resource space and knowledge space. We can deliver only based on what we know, and using and utilizing the existing and available knowledge is something which, especially in 21st century, is having a very different meaning and very different impact to all the services we are designing, all the products we are imagining, because mankind is a different beast compared to many other species in the nature. We are able to build on top of the knowledge of the former generations and to share that knowledge. And the good example has always been, if I have an apple and I give it to you, I don't have an apple and you have one. And many people who are super pessimists say that after you eat the apple, we have nothing. However, in the ideas and knowledge economy, if I have an idea and I give it to you, then I still have that idea. I still have that knowledge, but you have gained something. So it's not a resource-based zero-sum game which ends with us having no resources, but rather opposite. We are actually amplifying the knowledge, and modern digital technologies help us to network and amplify that knowledge. The knowledge is more accessible to us than it used to be centuries ago. However, for me, often using the existing available knowledge materials to solve a problem has been something which is inspiring people already for the centuries. This is a picture from Tarvastu, a small Estonian parish, when the young man decided to make a breakthrough. And the breakthrough is something which is very important on the field of innovation. From the perspective of really making a major invention and breakthrough in the field of bicycle inventions, he clearly failed. He did not deliver with those resources in hand as something which is new in the field of bicycle industry. However, what he did is something which is more valuable than inventing something new. He practiced innovation. He had an idea, he had certain resources, certain knowledge and competencies, and he made his idea into reality. And actually that worked downhill. And maybe when somebody pushed. But the most important part is that he was not in a status of thinking, but he was in the status of acting, doing. And you can't get your muscle of innovation in the fit state unless you practice the innovation. And it doesn't mean that you need to do your bicycle every day, but it means often that you can be in a multidisciplinary environment. You can think the way how I could be and behave more innovatively, do something differently, how I can help others, or how I see world with an open eyes, and make small changes and think not that, yes, the world is as it is and I can't do anything, but you need to think why world is as it is, and can I do something to contribute to the rest of the world. This is a good example of the knowledge accumulation. This graph could actually describe also any startup company evaluation or growth of the Google or any other 21st century digital phenomena. However, it's stretched down to 100 years. It's a 1 century term. And it describes the production of something in millions of tons per year. And this is actually aluminium. Aluminium is 8% of the weight of the mass of the planet Earth. it's the most common element after oxygen and silicon. And yet, and aluminium was here way before the first living organs started to hang around on the core of the planet Earth or in the oceans. And yet, we were able to execute and to start using aluminium only 100 and some years ago. And why is that? Because aluminium is not a poor element and it's very reactive. And we did not have a knowledge how to purify it, how to make electrolysis as a chemical formula be beneficial for us. And years after years after years, the production of aluminium is a good example of accumulation of the knowledge, science, engineering, design, demand-driven, push-driven, and all kind of different formulas what we can learn from innovation. The mass and amount of aluminium remains pretty much the same, and it's not delivered by aliens to us on a quarterly basis, but we are the ones who are learning to purify it, to reuse it, and make a better use of that. So this is something on which we can build whenever we are designing our services. We can build on top of the former knowledge base, and we can also think about the future of the limits of our know-how and knowledge. Right now we are living in an accelerated environment where the similar hyper-growth curves appear, but in the field of digital environment. The amount of information we accumulate right now during the 20 days on planet Earth is as much as humankind has created information up till the year 2010 altogether. So all mankind history up till 2010, when the UX was already probably in the dictionaries of design, and then 1 month of the present time. However, the biggest challenge nowadays is not how to generate the information and data, but it's how to make that information to work in a meaningful way, how to make a sense and how to use that information, like squeezing a piece of water out of the stone, how to manage and make sure that our ability to analyze it, mass of information, is making us a sense. And this is a new challenge on top of which we are building also our future knowledge aspirations as a mankind, and to which all disciplines, including also fine arts and humanitarian sciences, are more and more contributing nowadays. We know the difference, and this auditorium knows the difference. In 2005, Vatican Square, people waiting for the new head of Catholic Church to be announced, and we know they were waiting and waiting for the white smoke to appear from the roof and chimneys of the Vatican. And 2013, less than 10 years ago, later, the same event, the same people probably also on the Vatican Square, waiting for the same event to take place. And we can recognize and see the difference. And that difference is something which will not turn back. In virtually 10 years ago, continental Africa had 50 million internet users. Right now, out of the 1.2 billion people living in continental Africa, close to 500 million have internet use on a daily basis. The last 100 million of internet users in continental Africa have never seen and touched keyboard or mouse, and they never will, because this is what they aspire from the technologies to deliver to them. And when we are seeking for the solutions which are broad and talk to the different societies around the world, we need also to see not what we used to use when we grew up, but where the societies around the world are moving, what is a new predominant platform, what are the aspirations of those predominant users around the world, what are their values. Most of the new inventions don't succeed not because they are technologically not implementable, but they are not socially acceptable or culturally valued by the end users. So the social, cultural, often religious aspects become more and more important than any other issue around the world. Small joke around it. Government of Georgia prepared a national digital identity project which should help banks and society and government and everybody to run more smoother way. And it was announced and it was launched, and then a head of the church, very prominent person, said that it was written in the Bible that there comes a day when devil starts to give numbers to people and count them, and having a digital identity and identification numbers assigned to people is a sign that devil is coming soon. And this government is a tool in hands of the devil. What do you think? Did the project succeed in Georgia or not? Yeah. And 10 years later, people are still counting themselves on, in a way which is not kind of in the devil way. So the cultural, social, and sometimes even religious components make more important impact than anything which we can think from design or technology. Technologies which are delivered with one purpose are often, and more often, being reused in a totally different way. And the pet walkers in major metropolitan area in New York, Manhattan, and New Jersey are forming right now the trade unions to work and to protest against the competition delivered by special drones, which are not meant originally for the purpose of dog walking, but it worked out and sounded like it would be 10 times cheaper to walk a dog with a drone than with an actual dog walking student in after hours. And this is creating one very small and simple crash, for example, in the employment market. 20,000 dog walkers, out of which 10,000 lost their job in the Manhattan metropolitan area, and suddenly we are seeing how technology is making an impact to our everyday life. And technology can deliver even further. They can go to areas which we have not been really imagining before. This is a Da Vinci chewing robot. It was originally developed for pattern recognition and for chewing in textile manufacturing environment. However, transforming that into a clinical surgery environment, and we know that in clinical surgery environment, the biggest problem is always that by the age a clinical surgeon becomes a super professional, the motorics starts to fail. So in the age of 60, when you are already a super professional in performing surgeries, your mechanics, your hands, or sometimes also your eyes start failing. So giving a grape, and right now there are 10,000 or something Da Vinci surgery robots around the world, can do a better job. And most important, the moment one robot has learned a new trick or treat how to perform a certain surgery in a very technically demanding environment, the rest also are aware. So the learning process for the robots is very different nowadays. This is just to bring in the different angles and aspects of the innovation and inventions which we are being faced right now, the challenges we are being faced, and the richness of the field of innovation. It can start from the deep technology, but it never makes the significant impact unless end user usability, the design aspects, but also social, cultural aspects are taken into account. And I'm so glad to recognize that so many presentations which will actually now follow and make sense also compared to my presentation are the ones which take care and focus on the end user demand. And as many have said that well, we are being doomed, I'm glad to say that this is also the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
So we start with the first presentation. The next two groups have been working together with European Space Agency project run by Swiss Space Agency. As you know, probably man is racing to go back on the moon, but this time they will go there for a long while, half a year maybe. And our students have been looking into the life in this moon bases. So what will the everyday look like? How would, and in more precisely, what would the cosmic wardrobe of these missionaries on the moon would look like?
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harm, and for the past semester, our team has been working on a project in collaboration with the Swiss Space Agency, where we developed smart clothing for astronauts on the moon mission. So, as Martin just explained, we are working on getting back to the moon. Several space agencies have been working on developing a moon base. And the goal there is to send people up, create a livable habitat, try to extract water, that's going to be a very important step, and eventually use that as a launching pad to send us to Mars. But living on the moon is very challenging. You're dealing with low gravity, the water is very scarce, there's huge amounts of radiation, which is also probably why the moon base will have to be underground, which then means that astronauts are dealing with artificial day-night cycle. So all of that is very hard, and on top of that, the astronauts are living far away from Earth, far away from their loved ones, and basically in isolation. So how do you stay healthy in an environment like that? It's pretty much the same things as you would need on Earth. So proper sleep, proper diet, lots of exercise, socializing, but those basics can be very hard to cover in a situation like a moon base. So to make sure that astronauts are actually staying healthy, we will have to track them. We need to check their vitals, and we need to make sure that they are doing well. But as you can see from the picture, there's a picture from the International Space Station, that's not always a very pleasant experience for the astronauts. It usually involves a lot of mechanical equipment. Maybe you have to sleep with it like this, with all the wires stuck to your face. And to feel like a test subject is not a very nice feeling, not even for an astronaut, and especially not if you're talking about a mission that takes half a year or maybe even longer. So we set out to create a system that would allow us to test astronauts and check their vitals in a pleasant and unintrusive way. And our solution for that is Mica. Mica is a smart base layer undershirt that can be worn underneath normal clothing, or can be worn solo during sleep or exercise, which looks and feels like a normal shirt, which kind of allows the testing process to fade into the background, so you don't really have to think about it. And that will allow us to test over longer periods of time without discomfort to the astronauts, which in turn will also generate a bigger data pool. And we need all the data to keep the astronauts healthy and check on them, but also for scientific research to know how people are actually doing when they're living on the moon for a long time. The materials for Mica have been chosen to be very comfortable and breathable. so it can be worn for longer periods of time. And all the electronics are integrated into the material and will automatically start recording when someone puts on the shirt. All that data is synchronized to a main database where the astronauts can review it, and it will also be sent back to Earth, to the mission control, so everyone knows what's going on. Besides just being there to collect data, MICA will also connect with a smart ecosystem around it, using all the different equipment that's available on the moon base, like the machines that astronauts are working with, or the exercise equipment they're using. And together, this can be used to optimize their life. So let's take a look at the daily life cycle of an astronaut. Most of the time, of course, will be spent working there, doing scientific research or setting up the moon base. But pretty much every day there will also be an extensive workout session for them, and of course there will be some time to socialize, meetings, dinner, breakfast, and of course sleep. So during the day, MICA will kind of be there in the background, checking up on them, maybe measuring resting heart rate, measuring movement, maybe checking a posture. And then, for example, during a workout, every astronaut will get a personalized workout routine to make sure they stay optimally healthy, where MICA will work together with the gym equipment to check heart rate, duration, the settings on the machine, and all of the data will be used to generate better workouts for the astronauts and check how they're doing, check if maybe they need to work more on muscle mass, if they need to work more on cardiovascular, because we don't really know yet what's going to happen in that situation for them. So we need to reactively keep optimizing how they take care of themselves. During sleep, MICA can be used to track sleep quality, duration, position changes, and all of the data can be reviewed in the morning by the astronauts to check if they're sleeping properly and maybe allow for more sleep if necessary. So we really see this as the first step to using integrated wearable technology in space missions, which isn't really done now at the moment. And we think this could be built upon using different sensors or coming up with new applications. But altogether, this can really be used to keep the astronauts happy and healthy on the moon, while also generating and collecting more data to do research into how human beings live in low gravity for longer periods of time. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, I would like to answer them.
Question? We have time for one question. Okay, I always have one for you. So, even on the picture, we saw a space guy sitting there and these sensors fixed to the skin. This seems to be the way to do it, because you need to have really strong contact there. So your shirt has the sensors sewn into it, so is the contact good enough?
Yes, for some of them you really need that skin contact, and we won't be able to replace all the types of research. That part around the chest will be tight enough to make contact with the sensors, but there will be certain types of research where you really need to just hook someone up for a machine and maybe let them sit there for half an hour, or make them do something specific with the equipment around it. But for as much as possible, we want to integrate all that testing into this sort of thing that you can wear every day. You don't really have to think about it, it's just there, it's taking care of you.
As a follow-up question then, is the technology already there, or are you waiting for better sensors to come out before it can happen?
A bit of both. Some stuff that's out there is already good enough and we can use it, and for other things we would hope it develops over time, and since it's a really popular subject at the moment, we think it would develop enough, but by the time there will be moon-based, we will also have better sensors too.
Okay, thank you very much. And now the next presentation about modular clothing.
We have two moon projects. Just a remark, these projects are in their halfway, and the prototypes will be made ready for spring and presented in an exhibition in Lausanne.
Hello, my name is Robert, and I'm here to talk to you about our Smart Lunar Clothing Semester project together in collaboration with Swiss Space Center and the Igluna 2020 program. In 2024, NASA plans to do a first flight to the Moon, again after 50 years of the last Apollo mission, with now a goal to form a lunar habitat there. As a Moon environment is really different from a regular space environment, then there will be a lot of things that is needed to be rethought. As the missions are going to get longer, astronauts still wear the regular clothes on the daily life on the Moon. When wearing clothes daily, they tend to get dirty. But there's one common thing with space missions on ISS and on the Moon. You can't wash your clothes. Over a year period, 200 kilograms of clothes are being tossed away or burnt, you can say. They're just let down to the atmosphere and they burn there. This is not possible on the Moon because we have microgravity. This means that if you want to throw them away, you're gonna have a big wasteland on the Moon. And just, if you imagine that for a second, then it's not really ethical in a time period where waste is actually a big problem. Second thing is that it's very important to keep the astronauts happy and sane. And when it comes to clothing, NASA has stated also in the report of astronaut clothing study that this has a very big effect, especially on the long run. So we can imagine if we have, as Harm earlier explained as well, that there are people living in not humane environment for a year, then you should make as much as possible to keep them safe. Therefore, it is necessary to look into more sustainable ways how to use clothing on Moon missions, and until there are no sustainable washing options available. Therefore, we have developed a smart clothing system for lunar environments standing on the pillars of modularity and sustainability, while it's being designed by the astronauts themselves and the lunar habitat they live in. We have been studying different garments and the lifetime of them, and why do they get dirty in the first place. As our human bodies are covered with sweat glands, then this is the main reason for it. As the upper-current sweat glands produce carbohydrates and protein, which we can find in the groin and the armpits area, then these are the areas of the clothing that actually smell when you work out or you let the clothing just stay still. But these areas are usually covered by underwear and undershirts, and we have been focusing on extending the lifetime of an undershirt, as its ratio of dirty area compared to whole area is the largest when being thrown away. So when your shirt is clothed, and if the shirt is dirty, then only 25% of it is actually dirty. So we designed modular shirts with magnetic sleeves. And together with merino fiber, which has superior breathability and odor resistance, we are aiming to extend the lifetime of a single shirt from 4 days to 28 days. This, by simple math, gives us 80% of the weight savings. But this is done by implementing the magnetics into the sleeves and in a more smart way. So through laminating them in between the layers. So astronauts can have different choice of their clothing and the colors and the styles that they can create with the modularity. And they can choose that before the mission. As the standard cotton shirt is used for 4 days, then merino shirt can last for 7. But if you combine it with modularity, you can wear one shirt for a whole month. But nobody really wants to wear one shirt for a whole month. If we think of it, it kind of sounds disgusting and gross. You want to do it more like that. But if you're in this kind of box-shaped environment where you have to track everything you use and everything you use is really scarce, then this is really mind-boggling for the astronaut. So we designed a lunar hanger to remove that hassle of remembering what, when, and for how long something was worn. This aims to reduce the stress of the daily life of an astronaut in a place where clothing is actually necessary for them. It serves also the purpose of letting the garments breathe naturally. I don't know how much of you know about natural fibers, but it's really good for long run to let them breathe over time and not to wear them every day. The same goes with the shoes, for example. We have RFID that makes it able to track the uses of clothing items, and LED bars that show the charging status of the clothing, or when was it last used and what's the remaining lifetime of the shirt. We aim to give the astronaut the daily freedom of choice over their own clothing, not in every 4 days. And it can just use for hanging stuff. So by combining the two concepts, future moon missions could get logistical and psychological benefits. By giving marginal weight savings, this remaining space can be used for something else, maybe for more water, for more food, or more equipment. And also on the psychological side, many don't know, but a lot of astronauts use psychological medication to keep themselves sane or under stress. And maybe this small thing can reduce the intake of this medication. We'll live and we'll see. On behalf of our group, I would like to thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there one question? I just happened to have one. So you must have looked into it deeply, and you said that it's not possible to wash the clothes. And I understand that water is an issue there.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay together. But if it's a moon base, there's some kind of gravity there. So doesn't it change the situation compared to the spaceship?
Well, as long as Harm stated earlier as well, that the first aim of the mission is to find water and start using it. But as long as this doesn't happen, then this convention or method is not possible. So that's like a simple answer to that. Like, as long as there's no water, you can't do it traditionally. Although there are different kind of tries of how to wash clothes, and they are still under development, but there's no existing solution to that.
Okay, so no vibration or, I don't know.
No.
Okay. So sad to hear.
It is. It's the dark secret.
All right, but thank you very much. And now we switch to the students of the main building, cooperation between online media service Spotify and interaction design.
So, hey guys, my name is Willem. Now that we've been to Moon and back, let's get a little grounded and mindful. This project that I'm going to talk about today was a project in cooperation with Spotify. It was a really quick 1 month collaboration, and it was mentored by 2 designers from Tux, Kevin Kristjan and Kristjan. So it started off with our team going to Spotify headquarters in Stockholm, and their designers giving us the initial brief. The initial brief was that they wanted us to focus on the moments of health and fitness. And the more concrete moments were exercising, how to elevate our moments when we are exercising, and the moments when we are relaxing or meditating. So their designers gave us a lot of insights they already knew about their users in those moments of health and fitness, and introduced us their personas, and it was really good because it was only a 1 month project. We didn't have to do so much research. We could pretty much jump into prototyping and ideating straight away. So to get into a mood of my solution, let's meet my persona, who I put together after interviewing few people about their listening, meditating, and relaxing habits. So her name is Agnes. She's 26 years old. She has a really busy schedule of private life, school, work, and she mostly listens to playlists while working, just to create that private space And she also feels that she has decreased connection with music. When she was younger, she used to listen to more albums, but nowadays she goes for playlists because they are kind of effortless, but lack that connection for her. And she's been looking into meditation and mindfulness just to find some kind of a balance in her life. So she would like to have those small moments in her everyday life, but right now taking 10 minutes out of her busy schedule seems like an impossible thing to do for her. And when she tries to relax and listen to music, she usually gets into this thing I call skipping frenzy of just like choosing an album or playlist, playing the first song, maybe not liking it so much, skipping it, listening to the half of the next one, nah, this is not it either, skipping this one as well, and by no time she has a headache from that. So she would like to have those small moments every day and also combine it with music because she is used to listening to music and relaxing before in her life. Mindfulness, according to the popularizer of mindfulness in Western world, John Kabat-Zinn, is an awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. During this project, I also had an expert interview with Jaanus Jaska, who's been practicing mindfulness for over 15 years, educating people about it, and he's also been developing an app in Estonia called Vaikuse Minutid. And from our conversation, I formulated 2 design principles that guided me to my solution. First, that I should start simple by giving people simple instructions so they know what to do instantly and they also know when they're doing it wrong. And secondly, trust the user, meaning that we don't have to babysit them through the experience of mindfulness, but rather give them the tools and let them experiment on their own. I also looked into the world of tech, internet, mindfulness. Obvious things that came out were those apps with thousands of functions, guided playlists, a lot of things. So YouTube playlists of like music, TED Talks, 5.5-hour playlist of mindfulness music. Who can be mindful for that long? I don't know. I don't think they're using YouTube for it. So there's like real life workshops, and the Grace has also infiltrated pop culture. So I was thinking, like, should Spotify be kind of cherry on top and pick best functions out of all of them? But then I started thinking about things people can do mindfully. For example, you can drink tea mindfully. And Spotify already has over 50 million songs you could mindfully listen to. So my solution would be one song for mindfulness listening every day. So it's kind of like a playlist with only one song in it and one specific focus. For example, here we have to focus on the bass guitar in the song. But the focus could also be drums or more abstract things like layers of sound. And the playlist would advise you to just relax, close the screen, and try to focus on the day's focus. And when you play the song, there's small guides down there to find your focus or some interesting facts about the thing you're focusing on. So you close your screen, you try to relax and listen to the given focus, but like the bass gets buried in the mix, your mind starts to wander and you're like, whoa, what happened? Then you have to open your app and the function should work something like this. So, like a super easy and playful way to get you back on track. As far as the non-judgmental part of the mindfulness goes, it could start from your top songs that you're already familiar with. It could show you the details you maybe haven't noticed in them. But as you have more emotional connection to those songs, it could also move into more unknown areas. And the focus could progress from easier things like lyrics to instruments to bigger things like song structure or more abstract things like layers of sound. And here's also a video to illustrate the mood of my idea. I hope it works.
Hey, oh, where did you go? Did you bring it all? Did you kick it all?
That's it from me. Thank you.
As always, we have time for one question. Yes. Did you get it work, or is it just a prototype?
It's just a prototype.
But did you practice it yourself, sort of?
It was interesting. Yeah, I've been practicing it myself before the project, but I also talked about the project to my friends, and I prototyped it with like simple, just paper, giving them random things to focus on in a song, and it actually inspired people to listen to music more mindfully. So it kind of served my purpose, I guess.
It seemed to work.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Our next two projects take us closer to home, and yes, closer to home, thinking that how we actually work, study, and make research in a university. So the students work together with TalTech library. It's a fairly new library, but it needs to rethink its role in a university. This time, the project was not only go, do, and play, but actually the students took a role of enabling the change. So working with the people in university, in the library, with the students and the academics. So it was a long and messy process. So first is Helen.
Hello, my name is Helen. I'm presenting STEM. Tallinn University Technology Library, our partner in this project, has a problem: constantly diminishing numbers of readers. For an academic library, this is a concern. Their main purpose is to offer support and to students and researchers, but if no one visits the library, then actually no one gets help. There's a simple reason why people go to the library less. The way we study and work has drastically changed. Interdisciplinary teamwork is now a key part of studying. The need for the most up-to-date information in the fast world has made the internet the primary source of information. The issue is that the universities don't know how to adjust to fit these changes. I mean, TalTech might really pride itself in being innovative, but between 11,000 students, there are 6 group workrooms in the library and 2 on campus. 11,000 doesn't fit into 6 or 8, so students meet with their teams in these spaces instead. As for where to find info, we're expected to use services that are unintuitive to navigate and pretty difficult to understand. And then as in every subject, you have a new team. When the team struggles to communicate with each other, well, there's no one offering support. The library has traditionally been the main place of work for students and faculty, the main place to get information, and the main place to get support from experts. But when the world has changed, TalTech Library also has to undergo a drastic shift in how it fulfills its intended role. When the library changes in environment and services and actively engages the academic community, it becomes the stem of TalTech, a physical hub of learning that reaches out beyond its walls digitally to provide support and guidance wherever it's required. In our research, we found that both group and individual work can roughly be divided into 3 levels of focus. We understood the needs of these and designed STEM making space for all. the deeper focus areas naturally fall towards the edges of the flow plan, leaving lower focus meetings and work in the center of the hub. Although TalTech struggles with understanding group work requirements, even for deep work or focus, these are not difficult to nail. Our analysis shows that we need a table large enough to fit 5 people, a power source for all of the devices, some privacy and enough noise blocking not to disturb or be disturbed, a whiteboard, and a large screen on an extendable mount. It would be great to get some daylight on the view as we're there for a few hours. While individual work is often seen as secondary and as something students can achieve at home on their beds, on the contrary, it actually requires an appropriate working space and benefits from work environment. I would need a chair and a desk with enough space, power source and good lighting. It would be great to have a view from a window, some protection from noise, a lot of privacy to focus undisturbed, and a whiteboard to make sense of my ideas. Beyond that, STEM activity-based areas fit other needs supporting work and study, such as reading, discussing, having the guidance, making calls, or even napping. STEM is a learning hub, and as such, there's an opportunity to encourage peer-to-peer learning. It's one of the most effective learning methods. A special branch of STEM is fully fitted with the best spaces for students to organize their own classes and workshops. They get to practice their public speaking and teaching skills, while others get to learn from them. Books are still a vital part of STEM, but the current 1.5 kilometers of bookshelves is pretty excessive today. Reading hall, of course, yeah, but we spoke with Claveren and can change the way people interact with lending, moving 2/3 of the books into a book lending robot. Essentially, that's automating the library, so no aimless wandering between shelves, desperately trying to understand the indexing system. A couple of taps on your device and you receive the books in a matter of seconds. All of the physical STEM is supported by its own digital services. STEM assists in finding the best suitable workspace, booking services or support, and lending devices. It assists in organizing peer-to-peer learning by connecting people who want to teach with requests from others who are looking to learn. The digital STEM extends the support all over the campus, as much of it is available beyond the STEM building itself. And the final part of STEM, support in search and study, gathers up all the horrible-looking databases that are still really worth searching through and offers the results in one search. Beyond that, it's a tool that everyone really needs in TalTech. It enables sorting the results into boards that can be easily revisited and shared with teammates. Citing sources in your thesis correctly takes one click. Essentially, it's a research hybrid of Skyscanner and Pinterest. STEM is both a physical and digital learning hub, a seamless part of studying in TalTech. It gives the university community an activity-based working space, understanding their needs, and enhances learning through all of its services. My name is Helen Seli, and together with my teammate, Davi Ahar, we developed the concept of STEM. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there one question? Yes, finally.
Hi, I would like to project.
Thank you for the presentation. I like your idea. I was just wondering if you did any benchmarking and in Estonian võrdlusuuring.
What do you mean? Maybe võrdlusuuring with what?
Before you started the project, did you look at other libraries that were basically doing the similar thing, and which could be the libraries or specific or similar type of hubs, learning hubs that are both like digital and example physical, like library, physical rooms?
During the process,
could you name any basically?
During the process of the research, we first of all had a few co-designing workshops with students and also the members of the TalTech library. Based on their stories and influences, we understood also what is required from TalTech. We took a very active role of being a student, trying to organize this kind of like researched also the culture of TalTech, and on the basis of that we explored, of course, what other libraries are there. For example, the comparison with Audi. Of course, Audi is a very popular library in Helsinki, and the way that operates is something that was very heavily discussed also with the TalTech library itself. We visited Audi, we of course compared and did notes, made notes on that as well, but we saw that there are some things that we can take into this project, but of course as it is an academic library, we cannot take everything. As Audi is seen as the living room of Helsinki, this is not what is required in TalTech. TalTech library requires a learning environment, and we mostly fit it towards the needs of the community of academic workers there. But thank you for the question.
Thank you. And the next presentation will also be about the TalTech library.
So, hello, my name is Henry and I'm here to talk about the library again. So in a way they're very similar, but in the same time a little bit different, so please pay attention and please find the differences. So, the TalTech library building is now 10 years old. That doesn't seem much, but to put it in perspective, the first iPhone was released in 2007. And the way that we communicate and the way that we change information has changed drastically from that point on. Trends also show that fewer and fewer students find their way to the library. Why is that? Well, one of the reasons is that the students have changed, and so have their needs for their study environment. The new generation likes to study by blending together different activities, and they like to shift between them frequently. They read, use their phones and laptops, eat and chat all in one go. Studying has changed as well. Students are expected to work in groups and the amount of independent work has increased also. But currently, TalTech is lacking places where students can do these kind of assignments. And students aren't happy with the study environment either in the campus. So who would like to study in a hole inside of a corridor? So the Gen Z students like nesting. They fill their study spaces with personal items and they like to return to the same spot. They also like to study alone while being together. So to narrow it down, there are 3 aspects that we propose to change in the library. With the lack of a central meeting point at the university, there are still opportunities for students to socialize between each other. But the future is all about collaboration between people from various fields. As there is a lack of studying spaces also in the university, we see that we can make the use of library as a flexible and adaptive study space for the students. Also, when the library shifts to a more studying-oriented environment, the services offered in the library should embrace change as well. So in our research, we started to analyze what kind of environments are needed for studying, and we came up with 5 different areas. As you can see, the rooms are transitioning from open spaces to closed ones, and that also correlates into noisy areas to quiet areas. And from the workshops we carried out, we learned that the areas most needed are the individual and group workout areas in a semi-closed environment. As a result, we composed this abstract map showing how the library space could be used. But it also showed that there is no actual need for the quiet open areas like the library is right now. So as we move inside the building, the first floor currently houses the cafeteria, and the second floor is the main entrance to the library. These floors would facilitate the socializing part. talking, having a cup of coffee or a snack would be allowed there. The space should be open and welcoming, making it into a perfect place for a quick brainstorming session or a break between classes. The students would have control over the environment. They can move their furniture and make their so-called belovedness. As you move up to the third and fourth floor, the library becomes more style-oriented. The bookshelves are higher and used as space dividers. Semi-closed and closed study rooms would be placed on these floors. Perfect for the students for being alone but together at the same time. So, as we move on the fifth floor, we embrace the most traditional library experience. Bookshelves are placed in a more strict manner and no talking, drinking and snacking would be allowed, so that the environment would support the students in their deep study needs. With the library's new identity, serving as the new central hub for the university, which also takes the leading role of holding Linnar with the spirit of TalTech, it would be the place for showcasing new ideas and inventions that the university has done, ideas that inspire and move us forward. TalTech's new library, a knowledge hub and a cornerstone of the university. Thank you.
Thank you. A question about the library? Oh.
Hello. I have listened in both projects, both really interesting. But how these people that is already working in the library is involved in your project?
They're very much involved. So that because we are making it into more study-oriented study place doesn't mean that they need other services. They still need people to help them with their findings or research or with the information, because there's so much abundance of information, so it's very difficult to go through all of it. So we need specialists to help guide us through it.
Okay, I think that also will be very interesting how you involve this new change that from the people that is already working, and also because these people will be involved not only in the change but also in technology, and also with people that is foreign people. So it will be very nice to see it in your project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the next project, we move back to the main building, and it represents a long-lasting cooperation between Academy of Arts, product designers, and the North Estonian Medical Center, which is Põhja-Eesti Regionaalhaigla in Estonia. And there have been several courses happening over the semesters of a couple of past years, and now we see something about a healthy space.
Hello, I'm apologizing in front of the people who are only speaking in English because my presentation will be in Estonian. So, tere, mina olen Hanna, ma olen tootedisaini 3. aasta tudeng ja möödunud sügissemestril siis tegime koostööd koos Põhja-Eesti Regionaalhaiglaga ja sisearhitektuuri osakonnaga. Ja otsisime siis vastust küsimusele, kuidas toetada patsiendi toimetulekut ravipäeval. Planeeritav ala, millega me tegelesime, ei ole veel valmis. See tähendab, et oma uurimistööd tegime me praeguses päevaravi osakonnas, mis on äärmiselt teistsugune. Nii et me püüdsime võtta need vead, mis on praegu seal ja edaspidi neid siis vältidaks. Probleemid, mida me avastasime läbi vaatluste ja intervjuude, olid järgmised. Kõigepealt, patsient tuleb hommikul, ütleme, kell 8-9 haiglasse ja registreerib end ära, siis ta ootab. Läheb arsti juurde ja ootab jälle. Ja see ootamise aeg päeva peale kokku, see ravi ootamise aeg võib olla kuskil keskmiselt 3 tundi. ma usun, et te kõik olete kogenud seda, et lähete arsti juurde, ootate ukse taga ja juba poole tunni pärast on juba ebamugav ja hakkate mõtlema, kus see arst juba siis on, kas on minu kord või ei ole ja kuna praeguses päevaravi osakonnas ei ole ka mitte mingisugust numbrisüsteemi, siis tegelikult sa istudki pikka aega tunde teadmatuses, millal sinu ravi valmis saab. Ja ka ravi ajal tegelikult ei ole väga palju midagi teha, et seal on praegu paar telekat ja mõned kohad saavad aknast välja vaadata, kuid midagi stimuleerivat ei ole sellel ruumil praegu pakkuda. Probleem number 2 on see, et inimestel on väga erinevad vajadused, et ühest küljest meil on siin Malle, kes tuleb Rakverest ja ta on juba 7. aastat tegelikult ravil käinud, seega tema jaoks ei ole see ravipäev mitte midagi uut ega hirmsat, ta teab täpselt, mis toimub ja kuna ta elab üksinda, siis ravipäev on tema jaoks see võimalus, kus ta saab sotsialiseeruda inimestega, kas siis raviõdedega, keda ta juba tunneb, või patsientidega, kellega ta on varem kokku puutunud või uute patsientidega, keda ta saab aidata. Siis meil on Valter, kes lihtsalt tahaks selle raviga kiiresti ühele poole saada, sest et 43 tegelikult üsna edukas ka, tahaks tööd teha, aga juhtus selline asi, mis kõigiga võib juhtuda, seega temal on hoopis teistsugused vajadused. Ja siis on meil Kadi, kes on alles oma teekonna alguses ja ta sooviks, et tema kaaslane oleks temaga ravipäeval koos ja talle toeks. Nüüd kahjuks praegu seda ruumi ja võimalust ei ole. Ja probleem number 3, mis tegelikult on kõigi probleemide ülene, on see, et patsientidel on väga kõrge stressitase. Ühest küljest tekib see muidugi haigusest ja teisest küljest sellest keskkonnast, kuhu nad on sunnitud minema. Ja seda keskkonda siis saame meie muuta. Eesmärgid, mida me soovime saavutada, et patsiendil oleks efektiivsem stressist taastumine ravipäeval ja et saaksime ka toetada tema igapäeva toimetulekut seoses haigusega. Lahendused, kuidas me seda teeme, me võtsime aluseks või selliseks toeks Ulrichi tervishoiuasutuse toetava disaini teooria, mis räägib sellest, et inimesel on vaja keskkonnas, et stressitase väheneks kontrollitunnet, tal on tarvis sotsiaalset tuge ja positiivseid segajaid. Ja meie lõime siis sellise lahenduse, kus me tekitasime osakonda erinevad tsoonid. Patsient kõigepealt siseneb sealt ülevalt kollasest tsoonist sisse, seal ta ootab kuskil 10 minutit arsti. Ja pärast arsti juurde minekut ta saab edasi liikuda sinu kohviku ootealasse, mis on oranžiga. Seal tal on võimalus kas istuda diivanil, suhelda oma kaaslasega, kelle ta on kaasa võtnud või teiste patsientidega, teha arvutis laua taga tööd, lugeda lehti, lahendada sudokusid, mida iganes ta tunneb, et ta tahab parasjagu teha või siis lihtsalt niisama olla vaikselt. Või siis kasutada lisateenuste ja nõustamisala, mis on siin siis paremal pool roosaga märgitud, sellest natuke hiljem. Kuidas seda kasutada? Edasi liigub patsient ravialasse, mis on ka meil jaotatud 2. Ühest küljest on siis need tumerohelised alad, kus saab oma lähedased kaasa võtta ja suhelda teiste patsientidega, ehk siis need on sellised aktiivsemad alad. Ja siis see nii-öelda privaatne või vaikne ala on see, kus meie persona Valter saab rahulikult oma ravipäeva mööda saata, ilma et keegi teda otseselt segaks. Ja lisaks on planeeritud uue korpuse juurde ka nii-öelda pargiala ja sellele pargialale me mõtlesime ka, et sellele võiks olla juurdepääs, sest et teatavasti loodus aitab stressi maandada ja inimese ravile kaasa. See on meie visioon, siis meie sisearhitekt Kadri Pärnrati visioon, kuidas see võiks välja näha. Lahendus number 2 oleks siis lisateenused, mida selle oote ajal saaks kasutada. Tooksin siinkohal näite, et näiteks kui see Malle sealt Rakverest tuleb üks kord 2 nädala jooksul ravile, siis Rakveres ei ole suure tõenäosusega kohta, kus ta saab näiteks minna paruka konsultatsiooni, aga seda tal väga oleks vaja. Et need kaks asja siduda omavahel, et ooteaeg mööduks kiiremini ja ta saaks sellest midagi kasulikku, siis saaks paruka konsultatsiooni tuua sinna samma teenuste ruumi ja alles saab samal ajal, kui ta peab ootama selle konsultatsiooni ära teha ning pärast edasi ravile minna. Ja võib-olla veel, kui kriitika on varem olnud see, et kas vähiravil olev inimene üldse tahab midagi sellist aktiivset teha ravipäeva ajal või et keegi teda segaks või mingisuguseid, ma ei tea, maniküüre, pediküüre, siis meil oli, käisime testimas või uurimas inimeste käest, et meil oli nimekiri teenustest või ideedest, mis me mõtlesime, et kas see on hea või mitte, et läksime, küsisime, testisime. Ja siis üks 50-aastane meesterahvas, kes silmnähtavalt, tal oli väga halb olla ravist. Luges seda lehte ja siis tal läksid silmad särama, ta ütles, et oi, maniküüri, pediküüri tahaks praegu küll. Seega, vot, ilmselt töötaks. Lisateenuste registreerimine ja valimine käiks siis läbi arsti konsultatsiooni, mida iga kord patsient läbib ja selle kohta tuleb teavitus ja ta saab valida, kas ta tahab seda teha siis ooteajal või näiteks kui vahepeal keset paruka konsultatsiooni saab ravi valmis, siis ta saab valida, kas ta jätab selle pooleli või jätkab ravi ajal, kes see on võimalus. Ja meie oodatud tulemused ongi, et ooteaeg tunduks patsiendi jaoks lühemana ning ootamisele kuluv aeg saaks veedetud väärtuslikult ja patsiendil oleks parem toimetulek stressiga. Ja need oodatud tulemused on meil ka nii-öelda teadusliku toega, et need ei ole niisama meie enda välja mõeldud. Nii et suure tõenäosusega need lahendused töötaksid. Patsiendi uus ravipäev võiks välja näha midagi sellist, kui enne oli hästi palju oranži, mis tähendas siis ootamist, siis nüüd on päev täis erinevaid tegevusi ja suure tõenäosusega patsient lahkub haiglast palju positiivsema emotsiooniga kui seda praegu. Ma tänan teid ja kui küsimusi on, siis olen valmis vastama. Aitäh!
Thank you. Maybe first of all, why was it in Estonian?
Because we had this all material in Estonian, and I didn't know it's supposed to be in English, but like a few days back I figured it out, and then I was okay, it's too late.
I see. Thank you. Is there a question? It seemed quite a realistic proposal. The space program there, is it pretty much the same as it is now, just rearranged?
Well, the spaces we designed, they don't exist yet, so we hope that they will take our proposals and they will make them real.
But the square meters are the ones that are there right now?
What is in the plans. So
okay. But besides money, then what could be the main obstacle there? Did you get any comments from the hospital?
I think maybe the mindset, because one part of the people from regional hospital said that they cannot move while they're like on their medication and such, and our project was based on a thing that people have their freedom. And actually the nurses who are working with the people on a daily basis, they said that, but they move, they go to the toilet, they actually even go for a smoke or, moving around. So I think our plan is possible, but yeah, they just have to believe it and have to see it's real.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next presentation is about the cooperation between Port of Tallinn and Southern Academy of Arts Graphic Design Department. And the project is quite curious because it's probably the biggest piece of graphic design that has been ever designed in Estonia. It's a 500 meters long fence which separates the infamous Reidi Tee from a port area. Quite a challenging project.
Hello, my name is Birgitta and I'm the second year student of graphic design. The first day of our school year, we were dragged outside to discover the new Reidi Tee area, and it turned out that we have a collaboration project with the Port of Tallinn. This collaborative project aimed to make the area between the newly opened Reidi Road and the Port of Tallinn more attractive by highlighting the ugly warehouse buildings and buildings still under construction behind the fence, covered with big banners. The area was divided between graphic design students to design 500 meters of fence surface, which were split into 184 banners, which were 3 meters high and 2 meters long. So me and my fellow students had to create the concept and design for these banners to enliven the new promenade. The new road, which serves the Port of Tallinn and is running along the seafronts towards the Rusalka monument in Kadriorg, drew a lot of criticism from environmentalists and politicians, mainly because of the natural damage. However, there were more in favor of the road than against it, and the construction started in July of 2018. This political side gave inspiration for many of our students, but the port gave us some keywords also, like the port as a cape to the world, slogan "Let's bring city to the port," different people passing by, different directions, even a seal named Ülo was mentioned. So there were many options how to solve this, except we couldn't use any pictures. So here are some of the examples of our students' works. Some of us used typographical ways of storytelling, abstract forms of the port and sea, and made some illustrations. Now I'm telling a little bit of my work also. I ended up with 15 banners, and I got inspiration from the people, the sea, the port, and I figured out that I worked out these fluid characters who are floating, moving in different directions. Since the amphibians operate both at sea and on land, I thought they would fit into the port, which is also a link between the sea and land. As I'm also a part-time dancer, it helped to shape these figures too, because I was trying to find the wavy movement, and I was imagining myself as this kind of long-limbed creature. Another inspirational moment for this piece I got in a bus. As a daily passerby of the Reidi Road, I was often stuck in traffic jams, and there I had a lot of time to think about it, and these jams got me an idea to link these figures and make them connect. The connecting is also about the port, making opportunities, people to people, cooperation, international collaboration, and synergy. So there are many layers hidden behind my design, but since it is an abstract illustration, everybody can see it differently, how they want, and that's the beauty of it. So if you were figuring where are they, then they will be up in spring. Thank you.
Is there a question? I just happen to have it. So I know it was quite a long and complicated project. So maybe you can tell us what was the most interesting thing that you learned about when you did the project.
Things can get complicated when we have to work with big companies. Big banners actually also, because 3 meters and 2 meters, we haven't used it. Usually we do like more little pieces.
Thank you. And we are running a bit late, but the last presentation before the coffee break, I'm honored to invite the next presenter from the Faculty of Architecture. And René Puusepp has been here before. Like every year you have something new to show about modular architecture. So curious to see what's new this time.
Indeed, thank you. So it's an ongoing research, that's why I'm presenting it every year. It's slightly different though. So I know you're all aching for a coffee, so I'll try to make your suffering as short as possible. I'm René, and I'm going to talk about pattern buildings. So it's a collaboration project between Faculty of Architecture here at Estonian Academy of Arts and Harmet, the biggest modular timber manufacturer in Estonia. And it's a group work, it's an international team, and I'm just leader of this group. Pattern buildings, so what they are about. They are highly efficient, they're made in factories, they follow the mass production principles, yet they're customizable. They can be personalized to the resident's needs and budget, but also localized to the context. Why are we doing it? We believe that we can help to solve 2 crises at the same time. One is the climate crisis, and the other one is the housing crisis. Recent research shows that planting enough trees globally can help us, is the most efficient and cost-effective method of taking the CO2 out of the atmosphere. So we actually plant the trees, the CO2 is locked in timber, and when the tree grows, it actually stops absorbing so much carbon. So the best way is to cut some of those trees down in a very clever and smart way, not to harm the ecosystem, and to store them in products. We think by far the best products to store timber are buildings, are the structures of the buildings itself. It can be designed for 100 years, maybe 200 years. So it's like stocking wood in buildings. It's the wood stock of our time. Where it all starts, naturally by growing forest, by planting forest, by letting the forest to grow, by harvesting it in a very, very clever way. But I'm not a specialist in the area. I'm an architect, I'm a planner. So my work starts with the empty plot. I pick the pattern of the building. I adjust the pattern to the site, making sure that not too much space is wasted, that the building fits perfectly on the site. I pick the pattern for the facade, and using clever algorithms, I generate 3-dimensional information-rich model in a matter of minutes. This information-rich model can be used to cost estimate the process, but also submit submit documents for the planning permission. Once I get the planning permission, the work starts at 3 levels. We start resourcing the materials, we start fabrication in the factory conditions, but we also start work on site, building foundations, connections to piping. Building houses in factory help to make housing cheaper, faster, and better quality. Typically, the components built in factories are loaded on lorries. They can also be shipped. Lots of Estonian manufacturers ship to Scandinavia, the rest of Europe, across the world. They stacked up on the building site, and the skin of the house is established later. So putting the roof elements and facade elements in place. That's where my work stops, and the residents can move in. But we as architects, we have to consider all possible scenarios how the residents live in these houses, because we're designing them for 100 or 200 years. We don't know what's going to happen in 100 years. These houses have to be flexible. We also need to consider how the buildings are maintained, how they are replaced, and how they are taken down, how the building materials are utilized. And we need to take care of our environment, not to disturb the cultural, semi-cultural, or natural habitats during the process. And timber is excellent here. We can both sequester carbon, we can build our houses, and actually, as a result, get more natural habitats. So we have to consider the entire life cycle of the product. Past year, 2019, we designed digital prototypes. So these are pattern housing that can be adjusted to different sites. They have different properties, different kinds of flats can be built out of the design. This year, we're going to build the physical prototypes. Together with Harmet, we're going to build 1-to-1 scale prototypes. We're going to test them. We're going to test how they support the loads. And the following year, we're aiming to build a pilot. The real full-size building. If you think that you have something to contribute to this research, please feel free to get in touch, and we'll see, maybe there's a place for you in the research as well. Thank you.
Very exciting. I hope there's a question.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is it new? You said that I'm presenting every year.
Yeah, it's very, yeah. Always, never disappointing. So, I have a couple of questions. Before the coffee, we can let it happen. So, who made the drawings?
It's actually a teamwork. So there's students from our faculty. There are also engineers, and there's a manufacturing specialist for Harmet. So it's a quite long list of people. I should have put it on the slides.
But the nice illustrations?
Oh yes, Mändmaa.
Say hello from me.
Yes.
But really a couple of questions, but I only have time for one. So most important, if you say that these buildings will last at least 100 or 200 years, then obviously some things change during the time, people's habits and social conditions. So do these buildings also allow some changes? Meanwhile, like every 50 years, you can maybe rearrange them somehow.
Yes, absolutely, they have to. We don't know the future, right? Well, there are a couple of things that we need to take care of. That each apartment needs to be autonomous, so you can take down all of the interior walls. There are only parts of the buildings that support the entire building needs to remain, but they can be marked also in a very clear way that even if you are within the flat, you should be able to see it. And we also need to take care that those buildings are stronger than usual buildings, right? So the last 100 or 200 years. So we need to isolate them from the ground very well. The eaves need to be probably quite large to seal it from the weather. And we need to have a building maintenance manual so that the inhabitants know how to take care of the building.
Can you actually rearrange these blocks? You can maybe
Yes.
take the building apart and re-establish it somewhere else?
Yes, possibly. I think that's also a possibility. I think the more important is what you see here is the main structure. And it's actually can allow you to build a 12-meter span by how long you want. So within the span you can rearrange all the interior walls. Just the structure needs to be stable. We don't intend to take anywhere else, but we need to make sure that all of the components can be disassembled and used for something else. Probably not for buildings. After 200 years, maybe they used for sound barriers by the roads or something like that. We don't even know. We just need to make sure that you can disassemble. Means that you have to be able to take. We don't want to use screws, for example, because you can't take the screw out anymore. So it needs all the connections need to be made out of wood, so you can cut them open. All of these considerations need to be taken into account.
Okay, thank you very much. Back from the coffee break, we continue with our next 8 presentations. And the very first one here represents a cooperation between a ride-sharing transportation and logistics company, Bolt, an Estonian success story, and interaction design program. And the topic is how might the global ride-sharing company help us lead a greener lifestyle, which sounds quite strange because they're dealing with cars. But go ahead.
I will talk about how strange it was. So hello, my name is Maria. I'm an interaction design student and here to talk about our project Vessels for Transition in collaboration with Bolt. So as Kristjan mentioned, our challenge was framed by this question. But reading it, we started having questions of our own, like what even is a greener lifestyle? And circular economy is a term used mostly by business experts, but rarely understood by the general public. What spoke to us was the word transition, so we focused on understanding what it means to be in a state of transition. Right now, when the world is on the verge of a climate catastrophe, we all know that we need to change. And we certainly have dreams and visions about where we want to get to. But for now, we're here. The past is gone and the new isn't fully present yet, so we struggle to take action. We learned that to go through this phase, we need new practices that would lead the way and help us create new meaning. We focused on food delivery, one of the services that Bolt offers, because this is a practice that is changing how we eat and it is shaping our cities. So we set out to envision a food delivery service that is both environmentally and culturally sustainable. There are 2 levels to this. First of all, we need to ensure that the life cycle of a meal is circular. And secondly, the experience of eating needs to feel meaningful. But how could the system look like? Let's start with food waste. However cautious you are with food, there is always something that's left behind. Potato peels, coffee grounds, etc. This is unavoidable food waste. Our challenge is to capture this unavoidable food waste before it goes to landfill, because if we manage to do that, it becomes a valuable resource. Restaurants are in a good position to do this, because they have access to larger quantities of the same type of waste, and also processes in place to properly separate it. We see more and more innovation centers pop up in Europe, like the biomaterial studio Aine right here in EKA. We believe that these centers could really push the research and development regarding biomaterials forward. And this is especially relevant when you think of packaging, the wasteful side products of food delivery. And then there's regular people like you and me, who want to buy sustainable goods but lack a variety of options to do so. So clearly, there's a supply-demand gap here. But fortunately, there is already an actor moving through all of these places daily. Both can make this connection possible, collecting separated food waste from the restaurants and delivering it to innovation centers. In that sense, Bolt could become a key actor in a system that transforms unavoidable food waste into new products, new vessels that carry your food. But we are not product designers and we are not material scientists. So I can't tell you exactly how these vessels should look like or what fabulous new biomaterials they could be made of. What I can talk about, though, is the new experience of a delivered meal. We believe that this experience has the potential to help people to think about their relationship to food and the impact of their everyday decisions. Food should be exciting and engaging, so opening up your delivered meal should rather resemble opening a Christmas gift and not just some random box. These vessels could be made of naturally degradable biomaterials that speak of their origins and showcase proudly what they're made of. We even foresee new functionalities for them. They could grow you new food, like microgreens, which is actually a superfood. They could help us and educate us, encourage composting, and help us separate food waste from regular trash. If we take it a bit further and add AR, these vessels could show you how to start a revolution from your own plate. And talking about the revolution. Against all odds, people at Bolt actually loved our idea. The head designers came up to us and said, "Guys, you need to make this happen," and that this project spoke to him on a personal level. Rob Hopkins has explained how global warming is a crisis of the imagination. We are bombarded with negative ultimatums and lack the skills, time, and space to imagine ourselves a new world, unless you're an art school student. So, if I leave you with just one thought, it is, keep imagining. Keep talking to people who you are convinced will not listen. Because if you keep their emotions and experiences in mind, your ideas will become the vessels for transition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very inspiring. So, is there a question maybe? I might have one. In the beginning you mentioned that these terms, circular economy and transition, transition was clear, but then green and lifestyle were a bit fuzzy for you. Did you finally get them?
Yes.
Thank you. And our next presenter also represents a long process, really lasting for many years and through different generations. Many of us must have heard about this fabulous Estonian sustainable fashion designer, Ray Klaus. And one of her favorite fields of activity is consulting companies, the ones in the field of textile and fashion, which actually contribute the most to the pollution of the environment. So they've established a contact with an Indian company and also taken students there a couple of times already, if not more. So there's a project about Igluna Clothing and the Estonian Academies of Arts Fashion Design Corporation.
Thank you. So hi, my name is Kaisa, and I'm here to talk about making fashion. So anybody into fashion? Yeah. Clothes? Any nudists around here? No? I guess it applies to all of us then. Well, there's nothing wrong with loving nice clothes or to spend, because let's be honest, the economy needs consumers, right? So As you know, most of the production nowadays is turned to Asian countries such as China, India, Bangladesh. So it creates a lot of jobs and boosts the economy, but it also creates a lot of waste. So about a year ago, a group of MA students from textile, fashion and accessory design departments came together, and we got an opportunity to go right in the middle of it to India to work with Igluna clothing company. Our goal was to map down the waste in the production line and to suggest a strategy how to prevent it or how to reduce it. So from a variety of waste types, students could choose 1 or 2 categories to combine and to develop their idea for making a product that is first beautiful, practical and scalable. So what I picked up was cutting waste, as this is considered one of the most problematic one. One doesn't really know what to do with it because these are so small pieces. One cannot sell them, so this ends up in landfill. So what is cutting waste? It's basically the negative space between when you cut out the details for making a garment. So my idea was to use the small pieces and make a byproduct next to the main production. So I asked myself, why do I do it? What is the point of this? Like, what could be made anyways so that my efforts would have a point? And this is what I came up with. A simple crossbody bag, or a waist bag, if you will. Small and practical and in a variety of colors for different target groups and markets. From the 15% of unused material, an extra 5% was used. In this case, it means that 50,000 of the coats were made, and in this marker there are 2 of them, so 25,000 bags could be produced next to this production. This is massive amounts of water and energy to be saved. So other ideas were mainly built around making a pattern and combining it with more artistic techniques and zero waste. Creativity mixed with scalability. So it gave me an idea. What if there is an ongoing cooperation between young designers full of ideas and but lacking a bit of industrial experience and, well, money, and factories interested in becoming more sustainable and competitive, but not yet focused in having an in-house designer. This project-based approach would be a massive opportunity to use. So this working together, making money and saving tons of fabric and water and energy, making that new fabric. You know, that's just amazing. This is actually an idea to build further into business. So if this resonates with you, just come by, let's talk about it. We believe upcoming designers are the key to future success in building sustainable business. But in order that to happen, projects like this are vital to bring awareness of our choices, both as designers and decision makers in the fashion industry. So at the end of the day, considering all of this, my question is simple. If you could choose tomorrow, what would it look like? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Okay. I might have one. Your idea was about the bags. You said the number was 25,000 bags. So, yeah. So I think that might be one of the main obstacles why the producers are not really keen doing it because it faces them with a problem of sales. They're used to doing something else and talking to different kind of buyers, so something that they haven't had before, it's really a problem to get rid of those objects. But the Igluna clothing has been a partner for quite some time now, and people have been through there. So are you aware, has something actually put in practice there? Have they started to actually using up their waste and making something new thanks to these visitors?
When it comes to Igluna clothing company, they actually have an in-house designer. I guess they also collected some ideas from us, but right now I see that this is still a very a project that is very much in the start of so there's still a lot to learn how to make it work, because as you can see, all of these ideas were very creative, but how to actually apply them, and yes, as you said, how to sell them. So this is actually something I'm working on in my MA thesis as well, so just let's talk about it later.
Let's talk about it later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, but now I pass the microphone on to Martin again, coming up students from TalTech.
Thank you. Our last projects, they stepped in the same line as the two previous ones. Our partner was here a Danish furniture company, Trilum. Trilum is a company producing 6 million pieces of furniture a year from chipboard. The life cycle, the lifetime of this furniture with the new owners is actually pretty short. So students looked into how to change the strategies of how we buy furniture, what the furniture does with us, how it lives with us, so that the world would, and Trilum would step towards a greener and more circular future. Yeah, please.
Hello. I'm here to present our project, what we call Furniture with Soul, and this was done as a collaboration with the furniture company. And in our team, we are Lea, Maria, and Sofia. As Martin already said, Trilum is one of the world's largest manufacturers of flat-pack furniture, and they are mostly selling their products through the famous companies like IKEA, Jysk, and others. And the company has a very traditional linear business model. And with the theme of sustainable furniture in a connected world, we were encouraged to find opportunities towards the circularity. Even more, the largest generation in our current world is actually the millennials currently. And they are disrupting the market. Their life is very uncertain. They move between countries and they're mostly living in rental apartments. Therefore, they do not need or even want to own physical things which would keep them in place. It is also connected to the fact that they are very conscious about their environment and they want to do sustainable decisions. The usual need for a millennial to buy furniture is actually the need to personalize the rental space and make it feel like home. The budget is often limited and therefore they tend to prefer second-hand options which are more sustainable and more unique, and therefore, as they said, they have more soul in it. They are trying to have a connection or emotional attachment with the products they own. Therefore, when buying a mass market product, they actually enjoy the assembly part, which creates this emotional connection with the object, and they often personalize the product to make or give them their own identity. The mobile lifestyle is also supporting the trend of remote working. Working or studying at home is one of the new features that the home needs to adapt to. Especially as when the work tasks get difficult, the home gets distracted. The person needs to move away and find a more academic corner where it could be possible to concentrate but at the same time be inspired. But our user group is living in small spaces and it is often not possible to move to another room or even fit the desk in this small apartment. Therefore, when trying to design a home office for small living spaces, we set some requirements, like it should be easy to assemble, offer flexibility in order to modify the environment, modularity to create your own furniture, and others like connectivity, privacy, personalization, and storage. Our design solution is a set of modules or base elements that can be combined and used to create flexible furniture in small spaces and be personalized to make it your own. The main base element is a foldable wall that can be used to offer privacy, at the same time a possibility to hang up things that could not be drilled, for example, in the walls of rental apartments. And the second elements are the attachable units like shelving, storage, or even foldable table to create like this pop-up workspace. The third and the most important element is adding personalization by using stickers, paint, pictures, or for example plants, like done here, or for example here, whatever inspires you. The different panels will be sold separately, therefore the customer can be a co-designer of the product from the beginning till the end and create exactly the space that is needed for her. And at the same time, he is able to redesign it through the whole service life if needed. It is very typical that our needs changed in time, and therefore the simple modules can be redesigned as well. You can either remove some of them and order new ones. If something is broken, you can replace it and create new opportunities. Like for example, if you do not need the workspace anymore, you can use it for example, a space divider in a shared dorm room, or for extra storage in a rental apartment, or just a creative wall with TV in the living room. The other idea of the product is to improve the relationship with the Twilum and the end customer, which is not existing at the moment. Our aim is to create an online store for the company where those products could be sold online. So if the person wants to buy this product, the user can select suitable elements and start designing their own product. The webpage already shows different inspirations, how this product could be designed or personalized, and the customer can choose between a new or a used element. This is because we're planning to launch a second-hand market for Twilum products. So if the user does not need the product or just one element of the product anymore, she can easily sell it through Twilum once again. So the second-hand seller can find a new host for their piece of furniture by giving detailed information about their models, when did they buy it, and about the personalization they did with this product. And the virtual reality can help the customer to visualize their creation in the final space. So if Twilum's current business model is very linear, then by offering these opportunities to redesign and reuse the product endlessly, we are able to create loops in order to become circular and therefore more sustainable. So our idea is to slow down the fast furniture business, create circularity in the mass market, and give identity to those anonymous pieces. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there a question? Just asking. But most impressive product design, which is not often the case with those projects, because this is not even expected from the students. When they design services or concepts, then it's enough that you dream up something in vague terms and then just maybe point the way to some right in the future. But in your case, it took it much further. So my question is not maybe a question, but could you maybe describe the experience with working with such an esteemed furniture company and proposing them furniture designs, which they are quite capable of making themselves? So what was the response and what was the experience for you?
One of the goals actually was to present something that they could actually fit into their current way of manufacturing already. So their response was actually very positive because they could see that this actually fits to their brand product portfolio already now. And their main question was how to offer this kind of personalization. Should they start doing cooperation with some other companies that produce those stickers, for example? And they could see this product going even further, like offering different fabrics for creating acoustics. So
it was actually very positive feedback from them.
Okay, thank you. The next project also about the same assignment, film and design technology futures.
Hi, my name is Erko, and I was in a team with. Oh, please. Okay. As I was saying, my name is Erko, and I'm in a team with Arad and Meruba. And we also, for our design project, collaborated with Philo. How often does your home look like this? Because based on my personal experience, it hardly, if ever, is so pristine. It usually looks something more like this. That's because the previous picture is from a magazine, whereas these are pictures from people's homes and show how we actually use and misuse our furniture. We asked people to show us what they actually do at home, and we saw how they dry their towels from their wardrobe doors, even though it will eventually break them, how they throw their bags and their jeans on their chairs because they're gonna wear them again tomorrow anyways. Or the more less common uses, and my personal favorite, was using your desk as an ironing board for your shirts because you don't have one. We saw this misuse and these creative solutions because the furniture we have right now doesn't really support all of these functions we need. So we decided to shift from designing furniture to designing functions. We decided that why not encourage these kinds of behaviors, and why not give users the tools to expand the functions of the items they have right now. And we thought that the best way to do this is through add-ons, like the one here. These are attachments for the furniture you already own, to increase their functionality. For example, this is a nifty way to add storage to your wardrobe, so you can store books or magazines. Or when you don't have a proper place for your coat or your bags, you can attach this hanger to your wardrobe, or you can attach this sliding plate to your chest of drawers, so you can have more functionality. Maybe you want a place where you can check yourself before you go out. How do I look? Well, we can have something like that on your wardrobe. Or maybe you want functionality for full dressing table, but you just don't have the room for one. With this sliding mirror, if you want to do your makeup or you want to dress, you can slide it up. And if you're working or studying, you can put it back down so the handsome devil looking at you won't be distracting you. Also, we saw that there are basic functions that people are missing, so why not move them closer to the furniture they're related to? For example, the clothes you're going to iron are going to end up in the wardrobe anyways. And as no two people are alike, why should their furniture be mass-produced and look the same? Why not give users a way to make their furniture more unique and more personal? And nature likes this approach too, because as you strengthen the bond between you and your furniture, and you repurpose and reuse the furniture you have, you in turn extend its life cycle, which means that you end up buying less furniture, meaning that the industrial footprint of the furniture industry can be smaller. We live in a world of mass-produced look-alike furniture, but it doesn't have to be that way. Why not make it more fun through furniture add-ons? Thank you.
Thank you. So I hope there are some questions. But if not, then there's one from me. Just a technical one, because Martin mentioned that these furniture pieces are made of chipboard. Yes, and these are not very sturdy. Like when you put the screw through there, then did you consider this? Like you hang some stuff from there, which maybe starts breaking up the furniture.
Well, it depends how you attach it. Because if you put just a screw through a chipboard, it does break fairly easily. But you can use maybe a back plate, or you don't have to screw it at all. You can maybe hang it from the side. Like we had the just the drawers. That was a plate that you put on the piece, so it has hangers on both sides. So there are ways to make screwing things more durable, but there are also ways to circumvent screwing. Circumvent, bring holes.
Yeah, but that's what I noticed, that you had some items there which could be hanged from the furniture, for example, but you didn't make a point, especially to design something that shouldn't be screwed there.
We didn't. We thought about that. We also thought that we will focus more on the functions first, and then we didn't think that for us, like screwing things to the furniture, we saw it can we can. Let me rephrase that. We didn't see it as a problem.
Okay, thanks. The next project is called Boom. I'm also dealing with the same two-room furniture.
Hello, I'm Caroline. I'm a student at TalTech and EKA Design and Technology Futures program. I'm part of the team called Room, and my teammates are Bruce and Shanera. And today I'm introducing our project, which we did for Trilum, a chipboard furniture manufacturer. They wanted to get closer to the customer and offer something they would people will buy from the furniture shops in maybe 5 to 10 years from now. So we went on and asked from people what they value in a good furniture piece. From questionnaire, we found out that people value quality and appearance the most, followed by low price and good materials. They also value multifunctionality and practicality, especially in small places. We also saw that people misuse the furniture. For example, a chair could be used as a temporary storing place or as a footrest. Furniture doesn't occupy space sufficiently. The active lifestyle is limited with bulky, heavy furniture that is difficult to transport and move, and people often have problems due to that. Furniture doesn't adapt. Now more people prefer to work from home and the furniture needs to adapt. Yet it doesn't at the moment. Multifunctional furniture is complex. People value multifunctional furniture, but it often stays in one position. For example, a sofa bed is mainly used in bed mode when it's meant for everyday use. So the multifunctional furniture loses its value. Regarding those aspects, and keeping in mind that Willem deals with chipboard furniture, we came up with 3 concept solutions to our approaches. The idea behind is to make the furniture reusable and flexible, and leave space for personal use. So we know that living space is shrinking and people misuse the furniture. What if you have a small apartment and some friends come to visit? Do you have enough sitting places for everyone? What if you could hang the chair on the wall and it becomes a shelf, so it's not occupying your floor area when you need it? Or if you don't want to hang the chairs on the wall, what if you assemble them in a pile on the floor? From there we moved on with combining some different shapes and looked at it as a system. So we came to another concept, a concept that reminded us landscape. You could assemble the pieces together or leave them in separate pieces. So it provides different work heights. For example, you could sit on it and it replaces the chair or sofa. Or you can stand up and work behind the computer. Giving people the opportunity to use their self-expression led us to another concept, the wall canvas. We offer people 3 different wall canvas sizes, and from the pictures you can see how these wall canvases could be designed. They have the opportunity to pick as many attachable chipboard pieces as they like. We thought about having 3 different sizes and various attachable pieces. The pieces could be from different colors. We see these approaches in different directions of sustainability, and we believe that our furniture will grow with the idea and the user. Thank you.
Thank you. There might be a question. You presented 3 concepts. Did you have more than 3?
No, these were the 3.
Okay, so there must be one that is more, that you like most. So which one is it?
That's kind of difficult question. For me, the first 2 kind of combine together, because you can have separate pieces which you can assemble together or leave them separate. But for me, I think I like the wall concept the most, because you have one singular piece that's in place and you can select suitable pieces that you like and store whatever you want in there.
It's the most flexible one.
I'm not sure if I can say that, but for me it would be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the last one in the series, a furniture project, Nook.
say.
Hello everyone, sorry for this little time waiting. We are 4 students for the Design and Technology Futures Master from TalTech. We are coming from Colombia, Japan, Nepal and France. And we worked in partnership with Trillium for this project named Nuke, which is a solution for emergency accommodation during migration. As we left our country to study in Estonia, more than 200 million people migrated last year, and we will be around 400 million in 30 years. That's why migration is one of the biggest issues in the world. But most of the people moved against their will, because of food insecurity, because of violent conflicts, or because of natural disasters. And half of them are children, without any home, any bed, and sometimes without any family to protect them. When they are arriving in a host country, they are looking for a new life. But what they find is an improvised emergency shelter without any dignified living conditions. Why? Because the host countries are not prepared for that. But did you already live in a room with more than 100 persons? And during 6 months? No, and me neither. That's why we designed Nuke. Nuke is a modular system providing living conditions in case of emergency. It's a colorful indoor village divided in cell units and organized around a social area. As most of emergency shelters in Europe are built up inside an empty building or sport gym, the village is adaptable for different size spaces. In a regular sport field, it will host 120 persons and will provide them enough space to work easily, mainly for disabled people and children. The structure divided by cell units will organize the entire space. Those cell units were inspired by the idea of a condominium. They deliver 6 private rooms and a common area. But more than providing a space for living, the idea is to supply a calm environment to restore the psychological comfort and emotional safety of the people. This space will help to rebuild family unity and create new connections. The people will find privacy in their own bedroom, which are surrounded by acoustic divisions to protect the families from noise and stress. Inside, there will be self-packing furniture for their daily activities. That, with the wall system, will help to create a sense of belonging. That's why all the structure is organized around the social area. This place allows activities for socialization, entertainment, and education for kids and adults. With all those elements, Nuke will provide organization, privacy, and rootedness for the migrants. But the complexity of our project is also to be realistic and to create values for the stakeholders. That's why the system is also affordable, quick, and extensive. But the nature of emergencies requires quick actions. Therefore, we designed chipboard self-packing furniture to reduce the assembling time and the use of tools. Building the village up will require 4 trucks and less than a day to be set up. Disassembling, repacking, and storing were also taken in consideration, because one of our values is that Nuke is designed to be reused. With this system, manufacturing companies, humanitarian agencies, and governments will be prepared for further emergencies. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for a very inspiring talk. So, okay. I wonder, looks really great and kind of well designed, I would say. I'm an untrained eye, but I have to wonder, if you're looking for privacy, then why not close it up more? Why are there curtains instead of doors, for example, and why there's no roof on top of it?
The idea is to make the system really easy to be assembled for the agencies that will build it up in the place. So this is the first point, and the second is that with this kind of shape of the divisions, we believe that it will already create this kind of privacy, because the curtains will not be seen by the other people which are out of the divisions. That from, if you are out of the divisions, you cannot see the curtains because they are in the side of the corridor.
Yeah, but just curious to say, did you consider closing it up more, or it was never an option?
Yeah, it was a question, but we chose curtains.
Sorry, thank you. Maybe next time. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for this film.
And now we continue with Estonian Academy of Arts, glass and textile students, and along the social lines. They will present a therapy tool for autistic children. The operation partner is Porkuni School.
So hi everyone, I'm Greta from Estonian Academy of Arts, second year masters from glass department. And I'm going to tell you about a social design project that we did last year in textile department in cooperation with Porkuni, School of Porkuni. School of Porkuni is a special school for autistic children. And our goal was to improve their everyday life emotionally and physically. When designing for autists, there are a lot of aspects to consider, and the most complex one is sensor sensitivity. So, for example, a red color can be irritating for one child, but calming for another one. So there are a lot of aspects to consider about that. Our aim was to create a therapeutical game which will help children to identify the emotions, to handle the emotions, but also to create a safe environment for children to communicate to each other and to support individual expression, which in case of autism, again, is a complex problem. So now I'm going to show you a video clip of our outcome so they have a better understanding about the concept. probably think why a class department student is doing handling textile products. Well, it's because I researched waste glass, and we experimented for this project to produce glass beads out of waste glass, and we use it as one of the fillings in the pillows. So altogether we have 4 different pillows which are tactile, and they're all based on 4 different emotions. Each pillow has a different filling inside, and the filling depends on the emotion. So the heavier the emotion, the heavier the pillow. So the whole meaning of different fillings is actually to support therapy functions. So as you probably saw from the video, you can put your hands inside to the pillow to touch the filling. You can put it on your lap to calm yourself. You can hug it, you can cuddle it. They're all related to the emotion of the pillow. So we also used graphic faces to help children to recognize the emotion and to identify with it. And on the other side, there's an embossed outline which also supports tactile activity. The pillows go inside the nest, but the nest is also usable apart from the game set. Because autistic children usually want that something is surrounding them to make them feel safe, and they like to define the area for themselves. So, as from our recent feedback from School of Porkuni, the pillows or the nest of emotion is in everyday use, since we took it there like 10 months ago. And the pillows work according to the emotion, and the technical solution and the maintenance is also working well. So the next steps now will be to make more thorough research and analysis, and to continue the development process. So, to sum up the project, for me it was very much enlightening, especially about the social problems. And also from design aspect to, as a designer role, to solve social problems, which in the future I will hope to do more. So, thank you all very much for listening, and I'm very sorry about my start because really I have something in my throat. Oops. Sorry, so sorry. I did not plan it.
That's good. Is there a question? Yes.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask louder. Everybody's gonna hear that. Is it tested?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Tested?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we took the project out to Porkuni 10 months ago, and I was just in contact with them recently, and it's all working well. As I mentioned, the pillows, according to the emotion, but also the technical solution. All the fabric, all the fillings, and everything is very well working at this moment.
Thank you. Yeah, another one?
Yeah, we specify how do the kids connect themselves with the emotions? Like, how is the process of connecting? How do they identify the feelings?
Yeah.
Like in practice, you mean?
Yeah, for instance, if the graphic is like a smiling person, maybe a kid wouldn't like see it as we see, and maybe it's more complicated, or maybe how is it going? That's what I'm saying. That how this is like the process is like easy, like they're understanding the emotions easily.
Well, actually, in case of autism, it's never easy, and mainly they are using picture cards to help them to identify with the emotion. So our job was to create a very simple graphic, so the more complicated graphic or more intensive colors will be confusing for them. So
that's a very good graphic. I'm just saying that maybe that was like a difficult process to connect these emotions with these graphics for kids.
Well, we tested a couple of times when we did the collaboration with School of Porkuni. We had a lot of meetings with teachers and kids there at the Porkuni school, and as far as we tested them or experimented, they all got to know them very well, the emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Because maybe they are very intelligent as well at some point.
They are, by the way, yes. But the most important thing was the black outline and very concrete tunnused. Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And now to the very last presentation of this year's design showcase. And among the companies and organizations and hospitals and schools, there is also a local government represented here. Viimsi Parish Government and the cooperation with Estonian Academy of Arts Product Design and deals with bus stops.
Hello, my name is Vitaly Valtin. I'm from EKA Product Design Department, and here today I will present you a collaboration project with EKA and Viimsi County. Viimsi authorities wanted to make the whole county look consistent with the same design style, and they had CVI, but then they came to EKA and asked for help to design a new concept for bus stops and welcome gates, the gates that welcomes visitors of Viimsi. Already in the beginning we understand why they started with bus stops. There was quite a lot of different types, different shapes, colors, materials, and Viimsi is a very green area on the coast, and we wanted to add more smooth, wavy shapes and transparency to our design, so to get the possibility for people to enjoy surroundings, forest and sea. Our concept was based on modularity. The smallest module was just a lonely post with information stand and bench. But the bigger next model was a single pavilion with a curvy wooden deck on top. And when according to customer needs, they could be assembled and to create bigger bus stops with 2 or more waiting pavilions, or like in the center of Viimsi, or even the parking, bike parkings. They can be presented separately also. For the rooftop, we had solar panels that can provide electricity for lighting and stand information and device charging. But the next part of this project was gate. They had just a simple sign, Viimsi on the Viimsi County border. And our team came out with some laconic monumental landmark that's similar to V letter, like Viimsi, and also like map location mark. From the outside, it has a digital display that's showing different useful information from county, and or just some greetings on some holidays. From the inside, it has 2 powerful spotlights that pushes light rays from far away. So people from Tallinn or passing by ships could see it from far away and come and see what's that. This is kind of magnifying point on Viimsi. At the moment, gate is under development, but Viimsi County has taken our idea and other teams' ideas and make it to reality. And from September they assembled the first bus stop, and later in November this was 4 more. So that was my short presentation of this collaboration project. At the end, I would like to encourage companies to come and contact universities for collaboration, because this is a definitely win-win collaboration. Students get real-life project experience, and companies can get new ideas, deep research on topic that they need, and also maybe a new talented employees in the future. Thank you.
I think it was also a perfect final word. Yeah, well said. Couldn't have said it better. Yeah. But nevertheless, is there a question here? Yeah, many questions. Okay, sorry.
What did you find to be the most educational, or some of the educational parts in terms of the real life experience in working with the customer and retaining your design integrity, for instance?
I think the most interesting maybe and complicated also was to convince municipality to do something, and also quite interesting was the research, asking people from on the bus stops what they need, and to just look for them, like working like as a detective or something.
Yeah, I have a question. I could notice a significant difference in the original design and the actual outcome. So what were the main differences? I could see big changes in material use, also the lighting solution. So who initiated these changes and why? And are you happy with the final end result? And did you even get a say in the final construction?
Well, they took different teams' results. So we had 4 teams, and they took our team gates and bus stops. One team get another bus stop, and third team get the gate. Well, this was a little bit complicated at the end, and we didn't get the possibility to for our last word. So this was mainly maybe the money and yeah, some calculations didn't work well with materials and solutions that we offered.
But yeah, also the question was that were you consulted at all about those changes, or did these come as a surprise to you?
The final result was a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
That is not a surprise.
Hi, my question would be in a public structure project, and where there is seating, how did you approach maybe the question of should we design the seating so that homeless people wouldn't be able to lie down there, which is a hot topic at the moment?
Yeah, it was a hot topic, yeah, and we didn't want to put any special like hooks or something, some metal, so people couldn't sit there, lay there, but we made benches a little bit smaller, so at the end there is not so much homeless people there in Viimsi, so this was considered that. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
I just had a question. Did you get the brief from Viimsi Borough?
Brief?
Did you got the brief
Yeah.
from Viimsi Borough? So what was the focus of this brief? Was it like actually the rule, or was it the display for the information? Because there was no focus on the display at all, which is kind of information design, which is quite important when you're taking a route from one place to another.
I actually didn't show all our ideas. We had we designed new map and timetable for the better information. At the end, they added this display with solutions. So they took our ideas to this display. And we had a brief at the beginning, but yeah, the brief was quite open, so they had some material ideas and price also average.
Thanks. Any more questions? Yeah. Happy to see the lively dialogue. It seems the audience is just now warming up, so it's a pity it was the last presentation. But thank you for sticking up with it for so long, and welcome back next year, EKA Design Showcase #4. But until then, have a nice life.